Hi guys, your latest news theory. Nigeria's opposition politics has entered another critical phase ahead of this their 2027 presidential election. Oh guys, following this reported rejection by the camps of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi, of course, for all opposition parties to rely behind one presidential candidate against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, guys. This development represents a fresh challenge for efforts to build a united opposition capable of mounting a strong challenge to the ruling All Progressive Congress in the 2027 presidential contest. Guys, like this now, the latest news is that Obi said he want to be on his own party. He's coming as the president, not under Atiku when he will not be vice president. Instead, that is coming as a president. That he have the capacity to do this on his own.
Atiku does not, in my view, have the propensity by himself to say, I will step down. If he says so, he will not have problem with his support base.
He will not, or
he will not have problem with his support base.
If he says he will step down.
If he says he will step down.
Right.
But the issue is that he is highly unlikely to say that.
So it's a personal thing.
Then Peter Obi has the propensity to say I will step down. But if he says so, he will not have the support.
He will not be able to carry his support base.
The support base. His support base will not.
That's an interesting analysis.
The ticket that can beat Bola Ahmed Tinubu come January 2027 is an Atiku Obi ticket. Atiku at the top of the ticket and Peter Grogobi as a vice presidential candidate. People will call me names, but if we truly love country and if we truly want to defeat Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027, it is a ticket that appeals across the country. And some will say, we're not talking about the student union presidency. We're talking about a national contestation, a presidential election. I'd ask, beyond even the canon that has become very contentious, wherein...
Guys, this disagreement comes as the G100, a political pressure group convened by former progressive governor, that's their forum director general Salihu Lukman, who pushes for opposition parties and political leaders to agree on a single presidential standard barrier. Guys, this group argues that presenting multiple major opposition candidates could divide anti-APC votes and make it easier for the ruling party to retain power. And all their aim now, all these people aim now is that APC should not come again the second time. Now, imagine Atiku will be coming under Atiku, and many people don't want to vote for Atiku. So instead of this now, they will not want to vote for Obi either, because most people don't like Atiku, and Obi is coming under Atiku. Guys, however, in this opposition emerges from the Atiku and the Obi camps indicate that cooperation may be possible, but surrendering individual presidential ambitions remain a difficult issue. This their latest controversy began after G100 called on major opposition figures to place national interests above personal political ambitions. So, in an open letter titled "The Doctrine of Intensive Democratic Opposition," guys, this group urged prominent opposition politicians, including Atiku, Obi, Seyi Makinde, Rabiu Kwankwaso, Rotimi Amaechi, and others to work towards emergency of one presidential candidate. Guys, G100 argued that Nigeria's opposition would have a stronger chance of defeating the APC if political parties avoided splitting their supporters among several presidential candidates. But it begged Atiku and Obi, many people will not want to vote for Atiku. These groups will also announce plans for a national council of opposition leaders, where its own political leaders will discuss the possibility of establishing a common platform and also selecting a consensus presidential candidate. Guys, the proposal has generated considerable political interest because the 2027 presidential election is expected to be one of Nigeria's most competitive political contests. Article Council has reportedly indicated that the former vice president is no longer interested in prolonged negotiation centered on whether opposition politicians should abandon their individual presidential ambitions. Guys, according to a statement attributed to Atiku's senior special assistant on public communication, Frank Chaibu,
So it's a personal
Atiku
thing.
believes he has already presented his policy alternatives to Nigeria and intends to allow voters to make the final decision. This position suggests that
Not able to carry
while
his
Atiku may
support
support
base.
cooperation among opposition forces, he is not prepared to automatically withdraw his presidential ambition simply because another opposition group wants a consensus candidate. Atiku supporters they maintain that his experience in national politics and previous presidential campaigns make him one of the strongest opposition figures capable of challenging this Tinubu. So, Peter Obi's campaign has taken a somewhat different but equally significant position. There is the Nigeria Democratic Congress, that is NDC, where Obi is now positioned politically ahead of the 2027 election, has welcomed discussion aimed at increasing cooperation among opposition forces. Yes, and this party has rejected the argument that all opposition parties must necessarily produce one candidate before the APC can be defeated. NDC National Publicity Secretary, that is USAID Director, reportedly pointed to the 2050 presidential election as an example of an opposition victory without every opposition party being forced to field a single candidate. As the argument is that Nigeria operates a multi-party democratic system. Many opposition parties can cooperate strategically without necessarily dissolving their individual identities or presidential ambitions. Guys, interestingly, like this, Obi's positioning does not mean the NDC is opposed to a consensus candidate altogether. The party has reportedly made its preference known in the event that opposition leaders eventually agree to a common presidential ticket. Guys, according to this OSA director, the NDC believes Peter Obi would be the strongest candidate to lead such a coalition because imagine Atiku, how many times have he contest? It's people are known they don't want many people don't like Obi coming under Atiku. It's like obstacle for Obi because many people that don't want to vote for Atiku and they would like to vote for Obi and Obi is coming as the vice president. Imagine they will not want to vote for him because vice president hardly have a say except the president is maybe let me say out of the country for a while or just one or two maybe he's sick or something else. That vice president cannot play his role as the president for that period. While Obi's camp so they reject this argument that a single candidate is the only route to defeating this APC, it is nevertheless prepared to support a single candidate if the opposition eventually reaches such an agreement, with Obi being its preferred choice. Guys, this disagreement is important because Nigeria's 2023 presidential election demonstrated how a divided opposition can produce a complicated electoral outcome. Atiku contested under the People's Democratic Party, while Obi was under Labour Party that time. Tinubu was APC, as these votes were therefore divided among several major candidates, with Tinubu eventually emerging as the winner. Yes, as this 2027 election approaches, political strategists have increasingly debated whether opposition parties should avoid repeating that same pattern. Recent international reporting has also highlighted the continued fragmentation of Nigeria's opposition as one of the factors shaping the 2027 contest. As Atiku and Obi are particularly important to the debate because both have substantial national political followings. Atiku has contested the presidency multiple times and served as vice president between 1999 and 2007. Since Atiku have been contested, if no won anyone, is it this one he and Obi is now coming to now win? Because many people don't want him there. Meanwhile, Obi became one of the most influential opposition figures during the 2023 presidential election after attracting significant support, particularly among younger voters. Guys, these two politicians were previously associated with efforts to build a broad opposition coalition against Tinubu, but this opposition realignment has faced disagreement over strategy, party structure and leadership. I wish it was Obi as the president, Atiku as vice president. I think it would be more better that way. The previous opposition coalition efforts involving major political figures encountered difficulties, guys, including disagreements that contributed to the weakening of the proposed alliance. Around May, the opposition hopes of building a strong united front had suffered after Peter Obi and Ruben Kwakwaso left a newly formed coalition in legal and internal disagreements. Yes, despite their difference over the single candidate proposal, the latest developments do not necessarily mean that Atiku and Obi are completely opposed to cooperation. There is a central disagreement appears to concern how cooperation should work and who should ultimately lead. Both camps they recognize the importance of opposition coordination, but neither has demonstrated willingness to simply withdraw its political ambition without a convincing arrangement. This thing leaves several possibilities open. The opposition could eventually agree on one candidate after negotiation. Alternatively, different opposition parties could maintain separate presidential candidates while coordinating on certain issues, as electoral strategy and grassroots mobilization. The third possibility is that a negotiation could also produce an alliance in which one politician contests the presidency while others support the ticket in exchange for political commitment or an agreed governing arrangement. That is the most difficult question facing this opposition may not just be whether it should unite, but who should become the leader of that united movement. If the choice is between Atiku and Obi, both camps have strong arguments. Atiku supporters point to his experience, extensive political network, and previous presidential campaigns, but he did not win. Obi supporters point to the momentum generated by his 2023 campaign, guys. Young voters, it has been among young Nigerians and the argument that it represents a different political generation, that the NDC has already made its preference clear by describing Obi as its strongest option should a consensus presidential candidate eventually become necessary. However, this article comes has also maintained confidence in his ability to provide an alternative to the APC. This makes the issue of consensus leadership extremely sensitive. This disagreement has implications for President Tinubu and the APC guys. With Nigeria's presidential campaign season already underway, the ruling party is preparing to defend its opposition in the 2027 election. A divided opposition could potentially benefit the APC by spreading votes across several major challenges. That is one point. Guys, political analysts have repeatedly noted that opposition fragmentation can make it harder for challenger to consolidate enough support to defeat a certain president. This Associated Press similarly reported that the fragmented opposition remains an important factor in Tinubu re-election prospects, with multiple opposition candidates preparing to contest the election. This opposition strategy is unfolding against a backdrop of serious public debate over Nigeria's economic security and cost of living. Tinubu administration Tinubu administration has implemented major economic reforms, including the removal of the petrol subsidy and significant changes to foreign exchange system. The cost of living something else in Nigeria. As the reform has attracted support from some investors and economic commentators, but they have also produced significant hardship for many Nigerians through higher living costs and pressure on households' purchasing power. For a money to buy petrol now is something else. Security remains another major electoral issue. If you look at the security so poor, opposition politicians are expected to use economic hardship, unemployment, insecurity and also concern over governance as central themes in their campaigns. There is this APC on the other hand is expected to highlight its economic reforms, increase government revenue, infrastructure projects and other achievements as reason Nigeria should renew its mandate. There's nothing they will not tell us during campaign. But after campaign finish, when you elect them, they'll do their mind there. Guys, economic condition and insecurity are among the major issues shaping this 2027 contest. So for G100, then the latest position from the Atiku and Obi camps demonstrates how difficult its mission will be. The group wants opposition politicians then to put aside individual ambition and agree on a common candidate. And this thing also will also make many people not to vote because most people might not like Obi as the president, while Atiku as the vice president, and other people will also like the other way around. So this thing will also sway their votes. But presidential politics is ultimately about securing the nomination, controlling political structure, and building a national campaign. Convincing these prominent politicians who already have established support pays to set aside for another contender will therefore require more than an appeal to national interest. Guys, place your comment at the comment section. Which pair will you like? Obi on his own, Atiku on his own, or Obi as president, Atiku as vice president, or the other way around? Atiku as president, Obi as vice president. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to always stay updated by subscribing, liking, ringing the notification bell, and sharing.